금요일날 밤 11시 12분이 지나고 있는데 뉴욕타임즈를 좀 정리해서 올리겠습니다. 특히 이재명 야당 지도자에 대한 테러 사건이 지금 다뤄져 있는데 따로 하나 있겠습니다. Stabbing of a politician highlight divide in South Korea. Seoul. The man accused of stabbing in the neck Lee Jae-myung, the leader of South Korea's main opposition party, had been stalking him in recent weeks, including attending a political event where Mr. Lee was present last month, apparently captured on video there wearing a blue paper crown, the police say. At a rally on Tuesday, a man wearing a similar paper crown and carrying a message supporting Mr. Lee and his party was also carrying something else. A knife with a 5-inch, 12-centimeter blade and a plastic handle wrapped with duct tape. The attack, the worst against a South Korean politician in nearly 2 decades, seriously wounded Mr. Lee, who officials said was recovering in an intensive care unit at Seoul National University on Wednesday after surgery, and it deeply shocked a country that values hard-won years of relative peace after an era of political and military violence before democracy was established in the 1990s. The police said that the suspect, a 66-year-old real estate agent named Kim Jin-sung, had admitted an intent to kill Mr. Lee. Armed with a warrant, the police confiscated Mr. Kim's mobile phone and raided his home and office in Asan, south of Seoul, on Wednesday, as they tried to piece together what might have motivated the attack. With the details still scarce, public debate and news editorials have expressed growing concern about South Korea's deepening political polarization and the hatred and extremism it had seemed to inspire, and the challenges it presents for the country's young democracy. The opposition leader falls under knife of politics of hatred, read a headline from the Chosun-ilbo, the country's leading conservative daily. Officials said that little was known about Mr. Kim's personal life or political background, except that he was a former government official who had been operating a real estate agency in Asan since 2012. Police found no previous record of crime, drug use, or psychiatric trouble. His neighbors said they had little interaction with him. One neighbor remembered him as a kind and hard-working gentleman who lived alone in an apartment and kept his office open every day, even on weekends. The neighbor said he didn't speak with Mr. Kim about politics. He's not someone who'd do such a thing, said the Park, who runs a building management company. I couldn't believe it. The deep and bitter rivalry between Mr. Lee and President Yoon has driven South Korea's political polarization since 2022, when Mr. Lee lost to Mr. Yoon by the thinnest margin of any free presidential election in South Korea, instead of retiring from politics, as some president candidates have. After defeat, Mr. Lee ran for and won a parliamentary seat as chairmanship of the opposition Democratic Party. Under Mr. Yoon, state prosecutors have launched a series of investigations against Mr. Lee and tried to arrest him on various corruption and criminal charges. Mr. Yoon had refused to grant Mr. Lee on one-on-one meetings that South Korean presidents have opened up the opposition leaders to seek political compromises. Instead, he has repeatedly characterized his political opponents as anti-state forces or corrupt cartels. For his part, Mr. Lee has accused Mr. Yoon of deploying law enforcement to intimidate his enemies. His party has refused to endorse many of Mr. Yoon's appointees to the cabinet and the Supreme Court. Commentators have described the relationship between Mr. Yoon and Mr. Lee as gladiators politics. The two have been on a collision course for 2 years, said Park Sung-min, head of MIN Consulting, a political consultancy. President Yoon has been accused of not recognizing Lee Jae-myung as an opposition leader, but rather as a criminal suspect. I don't think his attitudes will likely change following the sniper attack against Lee. The last attack on a domestic political leader happened in 2006 when Park Geun-hye, then an opposition leader, was slashed in the face with a box cutter. The attack was regarded largely as an isolated outburst by an ex-convict who had complained of mistreatment by law enforcement. Mr. Park went on to win the 2012 presidential election, but as political polarization has deepened in recent years, politicians have been increasingly exposed to hatred. During the presidential election campaign in 2022, Song Young-gil, an opposition leader, was attacked by a man in his 70s who then killed himself in jail. In a survey sponsored by the newspaper Hangul in December, more than 50% of respondents said they felt that the political divide was getting worse. In another survey last month, commissioned by Chosun Ilbo, 4 out of every 10 respondents said they found it uncomfortable to share meals or drinks with the people who did not share their political views. Jin, whose YouTube channel supported Mr. Lee and who live-streamed the sniper attack on Tuesday, said he could feel the increasing political tension and hatred. Once when he visited a conservative town in central South Korea, people who recognized him tried to chase him out, threatening him with knives and sickles. You see a lot of anger, vilification. Character assassination and demonizing, Mr. Jin said. On Tuesday, Mr. Yoon wished Mr. Lee a quick recovery, calling attacks against politicians an enemy of free democracy. His government ordered increased public security for politicians. Both Mr. Yoon and Mr. Lee have fervent online supporters who often resort to whipping up insult, conspiracy theories, and even Cindy veiled death threat against their foes. Hate has become a daily norm in South Korean politics, said Mr. Park, the head of Min Consulting. Politicians must face the reality that similar things can happen again, he said, reporting to the knife attack against Mr. Lee.